A few years ago, I was riding my unicycle to work. I had my backpack on with my laptop and whatever I wanted to take with me to work that day. It's heavy. And my shoelace got caught in the pedals. I went flying down. Imagine this is you on the unicycle, and then you just go like that, right? So, caught my fall with my hands outstretched like this. And I bounced off the ground. I hit my nose, not hard enough to break it, and I rolled over, and I knew I was messed up, so I walked back home. It was a few blocks. I bit my lip so hard that blood shot up my nose, and so I thought my nose was broken because there was a lot of blood coming out of my nose, but it was actually just blood from here just shot up there. The real injury were my wrists. They got messed up, so I type on a keyboard a lot for my job. I immediately noticed, like, hey, it's not good. And it mostly got better, but to this day, I still have a little bit of a problem with my wrists because of that accident I got into. So when I lift really heavy, I wear wrist wraps because if I don't, it feels like the tendons are just gonna pop out. So it kind of sucks, but like, it's not a big deal. A lot of people in the gym wear wrist wraps, and I might not even need them anymore, but they make me feel safe and they look kind of cool. I get to walk around the gym looking like a mummy, you know, oh, I'm wrapped in bandages. So, years go by, and I got into like being healthier. So I lost a lot of weight. My cardio ability went up. I gained muscle. I mean, just everything's better, right? And so one day, I get into the same accident. It wasn't on my unicycle. I don't remember what happened. I think it was a bike crash. Yeah, that's it. It was a bike crash. There was a little girl. I was going fast on the path, and I didn't want to take a chance, so I swerved as hard as I could to get as far away from the little girl as I could, because I was like, there ain't no chance I'm even gonna get like within several feet of this little girl. Like, I'm not gonna be running over some little girl on my mountain bike, right? Like, that's just horrible, right? So I swerved as hard as I could, and unfortunately it was wet outside. So while I did avoid the little girl, I ended up eating it. And when I fell, I caught the fall the same way that I did when I fell on my unicycle. Face forward, hands outstretched, hit the ground, bounced. It was just like when I fell on my unicycle. And I didn't have a backpack on. Well, I had a CamelBak, but it's lighter weight than a laptop bag. But I was going faster, right? So still a lot of force involved. Anyway, no injury at all. And even though my wrists are like permanently weaker now because of that first fall, no injury. And so, you know, I thought that was pretty cool that like something that injured me so bad that I to this day kind of have like lasting injuries from, and that took me so long to recover from, and was just such a blow to me physically when I was recovering from that fall. Like going through the same accident again and then not having any problems at all, just immediately being fine. Yeah, it was awesome. And I did fall several more times because I would run in the mountains at night, wear a headlamp up in the hills, can't see. So sometimes I just trip and fall, catch my fall. It's an instinct, you know, reaction. And so I ended up falling and catching my falls like several times with my wrists, full weight of my body, no injury. To this day, it's totally fine. And it's because I don't weigh 200 pounds anymore, and I actually have cardio and muscle. Versus the first time that I fell, I weighed almost 200 pounds and I was out of shape. I couldn't lift any weight. So like, you know, when people think like, oh, why should I get into fitness? Or not even that. Just like, why should I try to lose a few pounds? Or not even that. Like, why should I go to the gym and lift weights? I don't want to look like a bodybuilder. I look fine. I don't care about how I look. I don't feel like I need to lift a lot of weight. I don't feel like I need muscle. I don't care if I can't run that far. I just want to watch TV. Who cares, right? Like, everyone has their excuses. But I'm telling you, And I feel like people scoff when they hear, advocates of resistance training say, "Oh, it prevents injuries. It makes you more resistant to injuries." Well, I can tell you, I've had some bad injuries. You know, there was the one I just told you about. One time I was mountain biking, and I slipped and fell, going so fast that my iPhone thought I was in a deadly accident. And when I picked it up, it said, like, should I call the police? And I had to click, like, no, don't call the police. And I got home because of adrenaline, but I couldn't walk for a few days, and I couldn't run for like over a month. And it took me like a year. It took me a year before I could fix a muscle imbalance from that accident. I think the left side, no, the right side of my body actually atrophied. And so like the muscles on the right side of my body looked visibly smaller. So you looked at me without my shirt on, you would say, like, what's up with the right side of his body? It's smaller than the left side of his body. And it's because I just wasn't using the right side of my body because I had shoulder injury, injuries in my ribs and my side. I'm telling you, injuries can suck. And even if you're not out there riding a unicycle, riding a mountain bike, you get injured at home, you slip and fall down the stairs. I slipped and fell down the stairs last year. It took me 2 months before I could like totally run at the rate I was running before because I damaged something in my back, and like I didn't go to a doctor, but I did. I just couldn't run. I couldn't run right. I would start running and like something in my sternum would hurt. I don't know what happened, but like injuries suck, and they happen whether you do sports or not. I've got a friend who had a beer and just pulled his leg walking out of a doorway. It was like a one step down to the ground level, not a stairway even, just the doorway was 1 step's height above ground level. And the guy falls and hurts himself. I mean, grandma falls and breaks her hip. Injury prevention, people don't give enough credit to injury prevention. Things that can prevent injuries. You think, oh, who cares about that? Injuries are an ever-looming risk. Every day, you could be injured. Even if you don't work out, go do mountain biking, run, hiking, paragliding, boating, whatever, rock climbing, you get injured any minute. And so if you keep your weight, if you keep yourself not obese, okay, so just don't be obese, right? So if you just keep your weight below obese and you do a little bit of some kind of exercise that builds up some muscle and connective tissue so that if you fall, you can catch your fall. Or if you fall down, it's not going to just snap a bone. You're not just going to tear a ligament from falling. Like if you can just keep yourself somewhat fit, it's crazy. Because eventually, you're going to have an injury event. You're going to have a situation where you're going to possibly be injured. And it's that split moment of time when you're falling to the ground or lifting something heavy or something's flying at you and you like reactively catch it or, whatever, like the thing that causes the injury. It's going to happen. It happens in life, no matter what you do, no matter what kind of lifestyle you live. Unless you're Bubble Boy and you live in a plastic bubble protected from the outside world, you're going to find yourself in situations where you could be injured. And it's at those situations where having some kind of physical fitness makes the difference between having an injury that takes a year to work off or it's nothing and you're fine immediately. You don't even get hurt. I read a story about a guy who fell through a window 30 feet and he was fine within a few weeks. The doctor said if he didn't have a muscle in his neck from the weightlifting that he does, he probably would have just died. The muscle created padding, which softened the blow to his neck or whatever. It's a similar story to mine. I fell the same way 2 years later, and the same fall 2 years later that caused me to have injuries that I have to this day. It was nothing. I was totally fine. And then it happened a few more times and I was totally fine. So If someone tells you, oh, hey, you should lift weights because it makes you more resistant to injury, please consider everything I said and that you will be encountering injury events throughout your life. And would you rather have something that takes you weeks or months to recover from, or would you like to be able to just immediately shirk it off because it wasn't a thing at all? It didn't hurt you at all. You were fine the whole time. Which would you rather have, right? So I think people don't give enough credit to the injury prevention aspect that you get from resistance training. When in reality, if you have an injury, I mean, getting up and out of your car seat to go to work can be so painful if you have a back injury. If you have a shoulder injury, reaching up to get the plates from the cupboard could be impossible. You might have to call someone to get it for you. If you have wrist injuries, maybe you just can't lift a certain amount of weight because your wrist will just start hurting, or you can't type for your job. There's so many ways that injuries can just mess with your life. So why don't you mess back? Stop those injuries from being a problem. So do some weight training. Go for a run. Whatever. Make yourself injury resistant.